Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back with another 10 metal bands you haven't heard but should. So let's get right into it with Malicious, which is some killer kind of thrashy black and death from Finland. They they go to the old 80s kind of style of death metal, like early Morbid Angel, bands like Necros Christos and stuff, just that evil, diabolical kind of death metal that the Finns especially have, d- despite not being that way in the old school. They sort of had the more gloomy sound. There's so many cool Finnish bands doing like just really fierce, bestial, evil kind of death metal. The whole album's about 25 minutes, so it's straight to the bone, just skull splitting death metal. Next, we have something a bit weirder on the old school death metal thing. We have Mephitic Grave, which is their debut album, Into the Atrium of Inhuman Morbidity. You can see why I read that, can't you? On a carbonized. Invictus put this one out just for the label tag. Mephitic Grave, really cool old school death. Like most Eastern Bloc bands, they have quite a weird way of writing songs, which might not appeal to everyone. I've always loved that. Bands like Root, Masters Hammer, you know, those classic kind of black metal bands, that seeps into their death metal as well. I can't remember which Eastern Bloc country they're from. I think Slovakia, Slovenia, one of the two, maybe, or Czech. That part of the world, apologies for not remembering that. Anyway, Mephitic Grave, talking about the music, which is what we're here for, not a geography lesson, just really killer old school death metal. Again, quite a short release. This one's also under half an hour, but it's got a really gloomy, weird atmosphere. It's sort of like one of those horror movies from the 70s, whereas like very old school, and then things just feel a bit weird and off kilter, and you know, I really like that with these kinds of bands. Next we have some Death Doom from Funeral Leech, also on Carbonized, and Dawnbreed as well with this one. This album is probably talked about a lot more last year or the year before, whenever it came out. It's one that I reviewed and then just didn't pick up somehow. Sometimes albums evade me for a bit, despite me listening to it online. Now and again when I was away or traveling or whatever. But yeah, I finally got around to getting a copy. This is really good Death Doom. I guess the best comparison I could give is maybe like a Doomier Bolt Thrower. It's got those very groovy, almost melodic, but not like melodeath riffs. But yeah, this really doomy, eerie kind of graven atmosphere. As the band photo will give you a clue of that. But yeah, it's a really cool album. My bad for not getting it sooner. Next, we have Diabolizer, which is another one of these bands featuring some of the talented guys from like Hyperdontia, Septig, that kind of circle of Turkish and Danish musicians. Diabolizer is really cool. I think they've just done some shows in Turkey, which the photos look really cool. I'm guessing they are more based in Turkey, but I'm not too sure on the divide of that one. Malik, feel free to clear that up in the comments if you happen to catch this video. Anyway, or Mustafa. I've forgotten everyone else's names now. Fuck me, let's just talk about music, eh? So, this is Chalcodian. Why did bands do this to me? Chalcodian Death, which has this great kind of Lovecraftian artwork, which is really imposing. I'm sure the vinyl will look killer with that one. But I have the tape here from Desiccated themselves. Really good, evil, Morbid Angel, Hate Eternal-esque death metal, those really kind of angular riffs that just come out of nowhere. The band are clearly technically very able, as you'd know if you are familiar with their other bands as well as this one. They have I wouldn't put them quite into like a tech death bracket, but they definitely have the abilities with those very intense riffs. The drums are really big and busy. It's just great musicians making great death metal here. So yeah, another gem from the Turkish underground there. Next, something on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the raw, grinding death metal of Galvanizer from Finland. This is their second LP, on tape from Extremely Rotten. Now, if you're not familiar with their first album, which had a slightly more Swedish sound, although still very much Finnish in their playing, just they had the more chainsaw-y guitars. This one, it dials that back a bit. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Zizma, also from Finland in parts. There's these kind of... They still have the Finnish gloom, as I call it, of despite having a lot of grind in their sound too. But it's... With grindcore, I like it in death metal. I'm not like a full grindcore guy, so But this uses the bits of grindcore that I like, the kind of frenzy, but still to me a real death metal release and a real damn heavy one. This is called A Prying Sight of Imperception, by the way. All the long titles today, brilliant. Yeah, Galvanizer, once again, killer death grinding madness from Finland. Both their albums are worth grabbing. I still need the first one. Yeah, check that one out. Now we have some German blackened thrash in the shape of Cruel Force on High Roller Records. Now this is the kind of black thrash speed stuff that I really like, where a lot of the cues come from traditional heavy metal. They've got quite epic moods and very battle-ready songs. It's called Goat-themed artwork, which isn't the last Goat artwork we'll see on this channel today, or ever, in fact. But yeah, really killer. German bands doing old-school heavy metal proud, keeping it extreme, barbaric, but also having those traditional melodies and elements. Really good musicians. Just a great ripping listen of high-octane black thrash speed goodness. Now we'll slow things down. We're going over to Japan with Anatomia. Somehow I don't have anything of theirs. YouTube, please don't crucify me for having boob on my channel. You know, hang me out to dry and all that with ads, but, you know, let the people hear Anatomia. Of course, a lot of you all know this band. Dark Descent put this one out, and they are just a killer. They're an icon in the Japanese underground death metal scene. I say underground, they've sort of broken through to a point. I think they're a household name for death metal fans. Just these evil, doomy, funereal songs. They've got that Japanese precision as well. It's like everything in the music is meant to be there. There's nothing, no loose ends, just absolutely amazing band. And their newest album, I think, is their best work yet. It's 4 songs. The last one is like a whole LP side if you have the vinyl version. I just grabbed the CD, but yeah, it's just really good, brooding death doom. Which brings us nicely onto the next release. In fact, I could have laid this video out a little bit better, but I just grab stuff and talk about it. So, also from Japan, also playing death doom is Cadaveribus on Meisako. Did this one, demo tapes, about a quarter of an hour long. Just plain white tape, very nice, simple, old school. Much like Anatomia, they play a slightly less, they're a bit less doomy than Anatomia. This is more just like gross death metal, but with a lot of those kind of doomier bits, more akin to Autopsy and the like, the Danish bands like Undergang and stuff. They just have that crawling, gross, kind of fetid sound. Fetid being another good example, and cerebral rotten stuff. So if you like your sewery death metal, check out Cadaveribus from the Japanese underground. And now the one that I should have really put next to Cruel Force in hindsight, but we have Nocturnal, another German black thrash titan, playing it the old school way, taking their cues from Volcano, Sarcophago, the South American bands, Sodom, Creator, Early Destruction, with the Teutonic bands. Now another nice goat-themed album cover. That's what we like on this channel. This one's on My Dark Desires. Now, this is their debut album. They've recently put out a killer new album, which I reviewed. This is just the only one I happen to have at this point. But yeah, Arrival of the Carnivore is one hell of a debut. All their albums are really good. But yeah, if you like your thrash the old way when it's felt very extreme and evil, then definitely check out Nocturnal. And now we have a bit more of a big band, really. But I'm going to go with it anyway. We have Nirvana 2002. Nothing to do with the grunge band that everyone knows, of course. This is a Swedish death metal institution. Some of the guys are now in Under the Church, which is a band I talked about on here recently. Also very good. But back in the days of Nihilist, Entombed, Carnage, Dismember, Grave, blah, blah, blah. All the bands we all love that I've talked about to death. Nirvana 2002. They didn't jump into the big label spotlight like some of the other bands. Neither Nuclear Blast nor Peaceful, I don't think, or any of those labels seem to jump on this band as much as they should have done. Relapse have compiled their stuff here, but all we have, it really is a couple demos and rehearsals. But in that we have some absolutely killer stuff, like the Disembodied Spirits demo, I think is essential listening for Swedish death fans. We got some live tracks, some promo tracks. This is basically just everything the band has done. So it's a handy thing. Just grab this LP. You have a piece of Swedish death metal history with those grinding guitars. They had a lot of, I guess, weirder ideas. Kind of like with Zizma from the Finnish side of things. they didn't quite fall into the hallmarks of the genre, despite having some of them, and maybe were just too original for their own good. But yeah, Nirvana 2002 is essential, and I'm kind of kicking myself for having known them for a couple years and only just getting around to getting the LP recently. But definitely one for the Sweet Death fans and just old school death metal fans in general. I hope you guys support these labels and bands. This is some killer stuff. Pretty much all death and thrash metal this time around. Next time it's going to be a cool mixed bag. I already have some stuff set aside for it. Some bits I'm waiting for. But yeah, it should be a good one. And I hope you guys enjoy the music and stay metal.